Hello and welcome back to the Tata Chess Tournament Round 11, which is a huge round in the tournament. And the reason is we have two major games happening in this round. One is Magnus Carlsen faces the sole leader who is playing on like a home tournament, Anish Giri. And actually, it's not only, I mean, it should be a big game anyway, but they also have the history, especially in these online events. And they don't particularly like each other apparently. So this is one of the games, and the other big game is coming from the chasing group. So Anish Giri is leading by half a point, and he is being chased by Alireza Firouzja and Fabiano Caruana, who are actually playing against each other in this round as well. So that's why this round is particularly of interest. And so in this video, I'm going to show you the Carlsen Anish Giri game, and in the other video, I'm going to show you the Firouzja Caruana game. So let's get started with Carlsen against Giri. So for some reason, not always, but mainly their game starts with e4. Even though both players are playing essentially every opening, still it's mostly e4. And while Anish has played the c5 Sicilian Neudorf in previous round in this tournament, however, his most solid option is e5, and he definitely goes with e5 against Carlsen. Now comes knight f3, knight c6, and we have bishop c4, the Italian game, or Jacopano as some people call it, which is just incredibly popular these days. So now comes bishop c5, c3, knight f6, d3, really a position that's been played by hundreds of millions of games. Now black castles. However, here Carlsen chooses an option that is more rare, so he immediately pushes b4 after some thinking. And so the early b4, however, has the drawback, which Anish did know, that now he can actually retreat to e7. So normally the black bishop is already on b6 when white starts to expand on the queen side. However, in this case, black can just simply go back to e7, and his plan is a quick d5 here. So now comes knight d2, and comes the d5 immediate break. This is a very thematical move. White is yet to castle, and yeah, so d5 is a very good move. So now white plays bishop b3, and so this was the first point that Anish started to think a bit, and he decided to play the move bishop g4, which is actually a good move. And the point is that there is actually only one game in this system up to this point. So the point is, which actually happened in that game by Daniel Dubov against Alexei Shirov, if you play the move h3, then after bishop takes f3, you actually have a hard time taking back this bishop. And the reason is, if you take with the knight, then you're obviously just losing a pawn on e4, so you can't do this one. However, if you take with your queen, then now black can advance with d4, and all of a sudden you have actually problems protecting all these queenside pawns, also especially because your king is yet to castle. So obviously now, so black wants to take on c3, so if you take here, that's just horrible for several reasons. Black can just take back and then take this pawn on b4 with the bishop, and white is just collapsing. And yeah, there's actually no way to protect things, so if you just play bishop b2, then black just takes, and then again this pawn is hanging. So so this actually doesn't work, and for that reason Carlsen played a better move. So the bishop g4, he did not immediately ask the question to this bishop, but first played the move king c2, protecting all his pawns, and he sooner or later gets ready to push the h-pawn. So now black took on e4, which might be a bit of a premature idea. We will actually see soon why. Because after d takes e4, bishop d6, now comes the question from Carlsen, what do you want to do with your bishop? And actually there's not really a good square for this bishop at this moment. So if you take now, then you are just simply giving up your pair of bishop because this pawn is protected. So if you take, knight take, then white just have one more bishop, and that's more enough for Carlsen to work with. So you definitely don't want to give this one to him. And the problem of taking is that now you cannot put your bishop back to e6 anymore. So imagine if this position, you make some other move, and then you play move h6, a6, h3, now you can put your bishop back to e6 and it looks completely fine. However, after taking bishop d6, h3, now you can't put your bishop back anymore because this is under attack and your structure would be compromised. So Anish decided to play the move bishop h5. However, his bishop is not looking that good on h5, and sooner or later it will need to be given up for a knight, because white is gonna reroute some knight g3, knight f1, knight g3, or knight h4, and sooner or later this bishop is gonna disappear. Now white played the move rook b1, a very good move again from Carlsen. It's actually preventing not preventing a5, but it prepares a good reply. So if you were to castle, then black can immediately ask the question with a5, what do you want to do with your pawns? You don't really want to push forward, because then your c5 square is going to be weak. However, you cannot push a3, because now you are just in a bad pin. So after c takes b, black just takes the pawn, and if you take back, your rook is gone. So, but obviously this was all known by Carlsen, so he started with rook b1, and a5 came in the game. Now you can push a3. Takes, and now there's no more rook on a1, so you can take with the a pawn. And black, well, Anish plays a very concrete move here. So white would at some point like to probably put his knight on c4, and that's actually prevented by b5, so fixing the structure in the queen side. And what black would like to do is play knight e7, reroute the knight probably to g6 without losing the bishop, and then push c5. So now comes castle, and knight e7, the rook goes to e1 to protect this guy and prepare this maneuver, and queen c8. And the point of queen c8 is actually, it is multiple points, so you want to, at least twofold actually, so you want to push c5, and then these queens are going to stare at each other. And also now it's a lot harder to push g4 as white, because then you really want to sacrifice, because already the queen is in the attack. So here comes queen d3, rook b8 protecting the pawn, and knight h4. So this is the way that Carlsen would like to get the bishop. Now will come the other knight and try to take this bishop. But now comes knight g6, takes on g6, bishop takes, and comes knight f1. So as I mentioned, the knight is gonna be rerouted, and once it arrives to f5, sooner or later black will have to take it. Comes rook d8, eyeing this queen. There's also not this cover attack on bishop takes b4, so the white queen needs to go away. Also, it needs to keep this pawn under protection. And now comes the move c5, as I mentioned. So, so black would like to obviously exchange pieces and pawns, try to qualify the situation in the queen side, and hoping to well, get an equal ending at some point. So now comes bishop g5, here's a pin, but Anish does not mind putting his bishop back, it's protected now. Comes a knight. So actually, this is point that's actually knight g3 came. However, this does allow black to push the pawn to c4, further restricting this bishop. So here it would have made sense to just take on c5 and then continue with your play with knight g3 and so on. Because, so here, I mean, obviously there is going to be some counterplay, and also these pawns could be easily exchanged. However, at least your bishop is still alive. So the way the game goes, you play knight g3, c4, bishop c2. And the thing is that even if you win this bishop of black, which is going to happen in the game, then, well, you will have the advantage of the two bishop, but your light squared bishop is really horrible. So you cannot really get out here. It is just eyeing own pawn. So maybe the only square that it could actually get out if you play something like g3, h4, and the bishop becomes a somewhat better piece on h3, but like from c2 to h3, that's forever taking journey. So now black asks the questions with h6. White wants to keep the bishop, obviously. Comes queen c6, and after knight f5, we need to have that black has to give up the bishop. Queen takes f5, comes g6, queen f3, king g7. And actually, if we stop here for a second, so white did achieve the advantage of the two bishops. However, yeah, it's not a big thing. So this bishop is quite weak. The other bishop is actually not so bad. However, it's hard to find any target in the black camp, and it's quite likely that the pieces are just gonna go, at least the heavy pieces are going to get the exchange on the a file. So now comes rook a1, rook a8, queen e2, taking these rooks, come with the other one, and exchange these ones as well. And after queen d2, h5. So yeah, it's very hard to see how white is going to create chances here. And I do believe that Carlsen is the one who is playing for the win. I mean, he's got the two bishop in the position, so that's probably in the long term some sort of advantage. And on the other hand, if Black Anish Giri is happy with the drawing as the world champion and also is the tournament leader. And if he makes a draw, it's quite unlikely that anyone. He's not going to be taken over for sure because he's at some point, at this point, he's actually leading. So if either Caruana or Firouzja wins, or actually even Yasipenko, then they could catch him. So here White played with King H2, some waiting moves, Queen C6, and further some waiting with King E2. And after King H2, Black actually had a very nice idea to reroute his pieces. It started with Bishop D8, with the idea of putting the bishop on B6. And yeah, here came G3, Queen E6, King G2, and after Bishop B6, you have to put your bishop away if you want something. But after Knight H7, Bishop C1, Knight F6, Bishop G5, the players decided to just agree to a draw. So yeah, this was one of the most interesting games, as this for the tournament standing and for the previous encounters of this round. But yeah, it ended up this peaceful result. And actually, so there's the other game of Firouzja and Caruana I'm going to show you. And the third game that was very interesting for a tournament standing is the game of Yasipenko. However, he actually played quite badly and lost very easily. So see you in the other video of the Firouzja Caruana game.